Well, hello everybody, welcome to Chef's Baking Blog. Today I'm going to be making some spiced cookie bars, sometimes known as Hermit bars or Hermit squares, and they can be filled, from what I've seen, with a number of different things like dried cranberries, raisins, sultanas, chocolate chips even. For mine, I'm going to use a combination of raisins and sultanas, and I'm going to do them in a 9 by 13 inch pan, which I have lined with parchment paper, and that's so that I can then let them cool down and cut them into squares or bars, and they should hopefully be quite chewy. That's the intention anyway. So they're quite simple to make and don't have too many ingredients in them. And I'll go on to the ingredients, and I start off with 205 grams of softened butter. That works out at about 14.5 tablespoons. I have 360 grams, 2 and 1/3 cups plus 1 tablespoon of plain flour. Again, as always with me, that's based on scooping packed flour into a cup. I have 200 grams, 1 cup of caster sugar. I have 170 grams, which works out at about half a cup of black treacle or molasses if you don't have black treacle. In England, black treacle is more common than molasses. I have 1 cup of a combination of sultanas and raisins, and that works out at 150 grams. Then I have 1 teaspoon of baking soda, half a teaspoon of salt, half a teaspoon of ground cinnamon, half a teaspoon of ground ginger, half a teaspoon of ground nutmeg, and 1/4 teaspoon of cloves. Now, cloves is very strong. If you want to reduce the amount of cloves, that's fine. So they're all the ingredients, and we should end up with quite a dry mixture which we can pat into our tin. So I'm going to start off by creaming the butter and the sugar together, and I'm going to use my hand mixer simply because it's easier. So that's nicely creamed together. I should mention that I had my oven preheating at 180 Celsius, that's 160 Celsius with a fan, 350 Fahrenheit. So with the butter creamed, I'm going to pour in my molasses or black treacle. And I'm going to mix that in to the butter and sugar. And that's reasonably well mixed in, but I'll just scrape down with my spatula so I can incorporate that little bit of butter that I can see. That's good enough. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to simply pour my spices and baking soda and salt into the flour give those a little bit of a stir around in the flour. And then I'm going to put that into my bowl, and I'm going to mix those around as well to get it combined. I'm not going to mix it too much. So that actually looks quite good. I'm just going to scrape down so I can check and get any flour. Mixed up. And then I'm going to put my raisins and sultanas in, and I'm going to mix those around until they're all incorporated. And with that quite nicely mixed together, I'm simply going to put that into my prepared tin and press it down to level it off. And as you can see, the mixture is nice and dry, and it's going to be easy to press down. And so with that flattened fairly nicely, I think, fairly evenly, I'm going to put that into the oven, and I'm going to bake it for 25 minutes. I don't want to over bake it. If I was using a lighter loaf, a lighter tin, right, mine is quite a dark tin, but if I was using a lighter tin, I'd bake it for slightly less time. But I'll bake it for about 25 minutes, then I check it, and if it looks as though it's cooked and it's beginning to come away from the edge a little bit, then I'll take it out of the oven and leave it to cool down completely in the tin before I transfer it to a board for cutting. And then I'll come back and show you the results. I baked the spiced cookie bars, or Hermit bars, for 25 minutes, and I took them out of the oven and allowed them to cool down for about 25 minutes again in the tin. Then I took them out and put them onto a wire rack. And there was a bit of grease on the bottom, so I just patted those dry with some paper towel and put them on the wire rack. And I've cut them into bars or squares, and this is what they look like. So they've actually baked up quite nicely, I have to say, and I've already eaten one, but I'll have a taste of this one. I'll just cut a piece off. The spice is actually really very nice. The combination works so well. So the bars are chewy, and I've got the raisins and sultanas in as well. And the combination of the spices is not overpowering. It's actually very nice indeed, and it gives a nice flavour on the tongue and at the back of the throat. So that's going to be it for this recipe, which I think is ideal as we move into autumn or the fall, depending on where you live. Spices like these come into their own. So I hope you've enjoyed the recipe, and if you have, please give me the thumbs up below and click to subscribe to my YouTube channel. In the top right hand corner of the screen there will be an eye that you can click on, and that will take you to this recipe, and I'll put a link for it below the video as well. And then I'll be back with another recipe in the very near future. So until then, happy baking.